Hello everyone and welcome along to round number 15 of the Inside Line Racing League season here on Xbox. We have arrived at the Singapore Grand Prix, one of a few night races on the form. There we go. I'm Ginger Andy, and joining me in the commentary box today we have James Baker. James, good to have you back. We had amazement joining me in the commentary box last week, but you're back this week, and we've got some pretty interesting conditions for the start of this qualifying session, don't we?
Absolutely we do. So good evening to everyone watching as well. It's been a while, it's fair to say, but yeah, very challenging conditions out there for these drivers here at Singapore. This is a testing circuit at the best of times, but add in that spice of wet weather on the full wet tyres as well is just a bit of a nightmare to nail. We've seen the Singapore Grand Prix go-ahead run, it was wet, and we all know what happened there, folks. It wasn't the best day if you're a fan of the red car, as it were. But we should be looking forward to some pretty good action around here. Should be a close one, I think.
Yeah, it should be. It can be a lottery in conditions like this. If you remember back to the last time we had a properly wet qualifying like this on a street track, a certain EVR Reynolds was on the front row alongside Jork at 94, who's now in Tier 2, I believe. So, you know, will EVR Reynolds, who is here tonight in what is a rather sparse field for ILR standards, be able to qualify up at the front? He's got to be one to watch today, James, because we know what he can do and we've seen what he's capable of previously.
Absolutely, he is going to be one to watch, to be fair, but drivers you've got to consider in this mix as well. I mean, Sarah and Surprise, we know what they're going to be like, but Sarah is now going to have a little bit more sort of, not advantage, but just have that little bit more sort of, I don't really know how to put it, but he's got it in his sort of favour here with wet weather conditions. It's not a circuit that a pad would really commonly be good at, but because it's in the wet, it may just hinder that gap ever so slightly to Veloce Surprise, and he'll be looking to get some good points out here today as well, because you know this championship fight isn't over yet. We've still got 6 rounds to go, including this one, so it's still right in the balance for these guys.
Yep, 6 rounds to go and not entirely over. Let's just have a look at the standings. Well, you mentioned them, James. That's a perfect way to cut on to those standings. Veloce Surprise, he is the top dog in the standings at the moment. He's been in the podium in every race since France, where he finished 10th. He is on top of the standings with 267 points. Second in the standings at the moment is, of course, Sira, as you mentioned, 205, 62 points back. It is slowly becoming to the point now where he needs to start taking points out of him every single week, is Sira. He did that well in Italy with the victory. Then there's a big gap back to the man on 150 points, which is OMG, it's Joe, who's had a bit of a up and down season, depleted. Did not starts a couple of times, a few did not finishes. You know, it's been a bit messy all round. He's a bit disappointed with that. Tyrrell Limitless is 4th in the standings. Cyril Stone is 5th. 6th is Leopard, 7th and Famous, Peona Brown 8th, Bastic 9th, and João Pedro 10th in the standings. So going into this one, you know, it really is, James, isn't it, now getting to the point for Steera where he needs to take points all the time, every week, not just 3 or 4 here or there. It needs to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points.
If he can help it, he has to beat him every race. It's as simple as that. I mean, it's a very similar position to what the 2019 season's been like, where, you know, Valtteri Bottas has almost had that weight on his shoulders that he's got to deliver if he was ever going to beat Hamilton to a 6th world title. In a sense, it's kind of similar here with Surprise and Sierra. They've sort of duelled it out throughout the season. I think what you've got to, in the hindsight, you've got to look on this season and say, well, actually, this season of ILR has been unbelievably good, but the points at the top wouldn't suggest that at all. If you went purely off the standings, you really wouldn't have watched the season properly, because it's been such a good season, but we just wished it could have been that little bit closer. Joe, on occasion, I feel like if Joe would have stayed at it and would have rode out this championship, I think it would have been close, but he's not seemingly going to take part in many races now come the end of the season, whether it's motivation or what. He had a couple of blips of results, but they all have. Sarah, Surprise and Joe, they all had their poor results this season so far. But it was just who could get the least number of those, and I think ultimately now the quality is beginning to show. Veloce Surprise is a class of his own.
He really is a class act, as Sierra at the moment is the quickest of all. Surprise has now gone second, 3/10 shy of that top time by the Brazilian driver of 1:54.7 to open the session. Surprise, just 3/10 shy of that. Limitless half a second shy. As I say that, P1R Brown now pops into the top 3 with a reasonable effort, moving ahead of TRL Limitless. So, you know, almost a 2-minute lap and still relatively close between the top 2 or 3 cars, which is promising to see. Drelex must have had a poor lap. He's 15 seconds off the pace out there. 2.4 covering the top 8 so far. Unsurprising given how difficult and how strange these conditions are. Very rare that we see conditions like this, and you know, the drivers don't always practice for conditions, especially heavy rain like this, which, you know, often doesn't last very long in a race. It's usually when you've got a wet race, James, it tends to either dry up or get wetter, doesn't it? It's never a race usually, but it's always throughout the whole race chucking it down.
I mean, we had it in Belgium, I believe. We had just a pure wet race in Belgium, just didn't seem to sort of fizzle out at all, and that was an exciting race, to say the least. But also, that is possibly the best points to go off of who is good in the wet on this grid at the moment. And you've got to look at drivers like P1R Brown, who actually had a really good qualifying in Belgium. He had a really good performance. That's the last time I remember seeing him, but it was a wet condition race. He got spun out at the start, made his way back up through the field, actually had a really good race. So he could be one to watch out here today, as long with the likes of Sierra as well, who also showed good pace that day. Surprise was exceptional on his tyres. So it is just a sort of case of management of tyres in the wet, as Terra Limitless moves himself into 3rd place. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Hopefully we get a dry race. I kind of want to see a dry race around here, because it will take forever otherwise. Yeah,
I was going to say that. It could be quite a while, given how long this track is. It is the longest track, or the longest race distance or race time of the season in dry conditions, if they were all dry. In the wet, you know, they'd be pushing 1 hour, I think, of total race time, which if it was 100%, they'd be pushing 2 hours, which would have seen the time limit being reached. I've never seen it on this game. The only game I've ever seen a time limit actually reached is F1 2010. Believe it or not, folks, that is a little Easter egg for you. On F1 2010, you can reach the 2 hour limit. I have done it before. So there you go. If you're tuning in and you weren't aware, on F1 2010, you can hit the 2 hour limit and the flag goes before the finish. I don't know what happens on any other game. I've never tested it, but you can do it. So, you know, learn something new every day, folks. It does happen on that game. So I don't know if it ever happens on this game, but I've never done a 100% race commentary or at all in this game, so I would never know. But anyway, back to the action on track. P1R Brown now. You mentioned him, James, being quite quick. 10th away from Sierra now, looking pretty strong.
Absolutely, and what they'll just constantly do in this qualifying session is just get a feeling for the track, and every lap they'll improve because the car's getting lighter, the tyres are starting to dig in more with the tarmac. It just becomes a much nicer car to drive when you've done more laps in it, and that's what a lot of these guys are feeling. I just want to see anyone who's just about to begin a lap, because it'd be kind of nice to see what a lap around here would look like. I think Sarah Rosberg may be one to watch as he comes through the final couple of corners. Don't pit, he isn't going to pit, he will do a lap. Hopefully he doesn't back out of this one, or hopefully he doesn't back out of the next one. We'll see what he can do as Sarah Rosberg begins the lap, and down towards turn 1 he goes. It's looking very, very wet, as you can probably imagine. Very difficult corner to nail in the dry and in the wet as well. It is a 90-degree corner, but very, very weird one. And then you fling your way through as Terra Limitless gets a 5-place grid penalty, was that?
Yeah, 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Bastic out there. Now I wonder what has happened there. That is a real disappointment for Terra Limitless. He'll be kicking himself or furious if it's something to do with the game. They're now both in the pits, James, so I don't know what has happened as we carry on with Sierra Rosberg at the end of that first sector, that area of the racetrack where he's breaking into now, down at turn 7. It is without doubt the best overtaking opportunity on the racetrack. Now through turn 8, look how tricky it is to get that turned in. That just shows you how slippery it is out there. They're just gliding across the surface, even on these full wet tyres. It's so tricky out there, James, as he makes his way now down to what was once the Singapore Sling. As actually we've got a car off in there, and that's Overkill, who's been in the wall down there, and that's without the Singapore Sling in play. Imagine if it was still there, he would have went flying over the runoff area and into the wall, wouldn't he?
Absolutely, and I do miss the Singapore Sling. I really do. I really loved that little sequence. It was challenging. It wasn't great for overtaking, but it was just very amusing to watch a racing car going through there, or a Formula 1 car going through the way it did. Rosberg completes the end of the second sector, and you'd probably imagine would have backed out by now, but another good opportunity to make it move is just beyond that second, at the end of the second sector there. Jason's actually moved himself into 4th place in the Red Bull, so that's pretty impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, and also pretty impressive to see half a second covering the top 7 cars, given how long the lap is and how treacherous these conditions are. Usually, you always find 1 or 2 gems in the damp conditions around a track like this, where we don't often see a full wet race, where people have, you know, put the hours in, they've put the practice in, they've gambled. But at the moment, it seems like everyone's quite even on pace. As you can see, WR Verstappen, who is now down as WRZT VX, in case anyone was wondering, is 6th quickest at the moment as well. Bastic 7th, over Kells 4/10 back and in the wall, so he won't be improving at all. Let's keep an eye on EVR Reynolds. I've been keeping an eye on quite a lot in this section so far. He's the only man out there not to do a lap. I was singing high praises about him at the start of the session, singing to the heavens about him. He's yet to deliver a lap time. Is he now going to do a reasonable lap time as he makes his way down to the Padang Straight? Oh, the rear end stepping out there, and again just giving you another example of how treacherous it is out there as he now makes his way through the Singapore sling, as it were, now through the roundabout, and now over across the Anderson Bridge, which apart from the Baku Castle section is the narrowest part of racetrack on the calendar, apart from that Baku area. Now heading across the Esplanade Bridge and down towards the end of that second sector, and he's got a car on the runoff area. That will disrupt his rhythm ever so slightly. Reynolds makes his way through there and now accelerating down towards the Marina Bay section of the racetrack. Sierra now a 53.8. Goodness me, that is
what a lap.
Nearly a second quicker than P1R Brown as we stay on board with Reynolds for the moment, making his way underneath the grandstand. That will be the driest part of this racetrack because it's the only area sheltered on the racetrack. Bouncing over the curbs, right up against the barrier, and now bouncing over these curbs. If you want to stand on the outside here, if you ever want to go to the Singapore Grand Prix, stand on the outside of that corner. It really is as close as you can get to a Formula 1 car. EVR Reynolds now round the final corner. It's going to be P8, 1.5 seconds off the pace. Well, he's only half a second off second place, but that lap from Sierra must have been something very, very special, James.
That is impressive stuff. To be a second clear at this stage of qualifying is quite bizarre. You'd expect a time like that to come in maybe, well, I don't even know, you'd expect a time like that to come in at all, but towards the end of the session, obviously times are going to improve because the track's improving, but that is an impressive effort from Sierra. The Brazilian in the wet conditions, ever presently good in the wet conditions as well, is Sierra, and, well, just taking it by storm once again. We'll see what the others have got.
Yeah, Limitless there, I was watching him, he's just at a major moment coming out as he started going down the long straight, and he's got away with it, no major problems there as he went down Raffles Boulevard, but it was a big slide for Limitless, staying out of the wall. 1.2 off the pace at the moment. He's backed out of that lap. Surprise is out there. P1R Brown is on an out lap, so let's go to Surprise. Is there anyone else near the final sector at the moment? Don't see anyone front running that's up there, so let's go back to Surprise then, making his way slowly, slippery. It's so tough out there. I don't actually think I can remember, James, seeing drivers struggle so much out there. They really are being tested to the limits, aren't they?
They are indeed. I mean, you look at the gears that they're using throughout the corners. They're using so high gears. I mean, through the Singapore sling, Surprise is using 4th gear, which is crazy. That's so high. He's barely even spinning with rear wheels. That's just to keep the car all in one shape coming through that sector. Otherwise, the back end will step out, and that's not what you want. And then again through here, he's 4th. But I'm not sure whether he's pushing or not.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Well, I'm not sure if he's pushing or not because of the level of the gears that they're using. He probably is, that's the thing, and he's making his way now towards the end of this current lap. He's definitely backed out of it now, I think, as he now makes his way up towards the final couple of corners. And still, I'm not sure as he comes round now. This looks like it could be an improvement for him. Up to the line goes Surprise. It is. He's only 2.5 tenths away from Sierra. So there you go. That's how difficult it is out there on the track. We can't even tell if they're pushing or not. Surprise, 4th and 5th gear, just waiting and waiting to pick up the throttle. Good effort. He gets within range of Sierra, but not enough to topple the flying Brazilian. But that just shows you how tentative they've got to be in the throttle as P1R Brown is finding time at the moment out there. Let's go on board, or watch him at least. No, he's lost 7 tenths through the second sector. It's all gone wrong for him. He found 2 tenths in the first. It's now gone pear-shaped. So we'll stay away from P1R Brown. Who else is out there? Jason on an out lap, and Jason is out there on a set of intermediate tyres. Now that
gone for it
is a bold shout from Jason 97 F1. Will it pay off? He's the only man out there on those tyres at the moment. Limitless, by the way, and we know there's a lot of Limitless fans watching. He is 2 and a bit tenths up through his first sector on his previous best. Let's see what he can do then. Cira in the pits. Is he going to venture back out at all in this section? I wonder. Yes, he is. He's on an out lap now. As you look at the top left hand of your screen, left-hand corner, is Limitless, makes his way over the Anderson Bridge and into this tricky braking zone. Look at that, about 30 miles an hour through there. That's how tentative they've got to be. Limitless lighting up the LED lights on his dashboard. The revs climbing into the next section of the lap. He's found 7.5 tenths here. So Limitless looking potentially at the first row of the grid here, potentially, if he can get up there alongside Surprise. Can he nail the final sector? Tippy toeing his way through 70 miles an hour, third gear, slightly lower gears than Surprise was using as he now makes his way underneath the old grandstand and now towards the final part of the lap, brushing up against the barriers again is the Racing Point driver, taking a lot of curb, showing plenty of confidence, pushing the car right up to the edge of the barrier, past the Singapore Flyer on the left hand side. Is the lap though, a Flyer from TRL Limitless, twitching his way through the final corner, he moves up onto the front row alongside Cira. It's a good effort, but it's not enough to topple the Brazilian, who at the moment looks to be in a league of his own out there on the wet tyres. He's flying, isn't he?
Absolutely, it's flying. He's on that final lap as well. Thing is, everyone who sets their lap now, if they can get to the line with a second or few to spare, they will get the best run in qualifying here, because the track will be at its best then. And for the likes of Jason, he'll be toying with that, because actually I think the track is ever so slightly improving, and he's gone on to the intermediate, so he may be in with a chance. He may have been one of those few to check his delta before he went out on those intermediates, and they may just work for him. This could be a shock pole position if he can nail a lap.
I don't think so, personally. I don't think he's going to do it. I think he's lost 5 seconds overall on that latest run. We'll see if he can get round to the flag. That's the big question for him. 25 seconds to go. He's coming underneath the grandstand. We'll wait and see. That is going to be key for him. Here comes P1R Brown. He's been finding time, and it's enough to move him up to 4th position ahead of his teammate Zet. So he's half a second off pole position. P1R Brown, he is now 4th quickest. Surprise is out there finding very small amounts of time. Limitless is out there still, as is Cira.
Jason's
starting
nailed
his
it.
flying lap. What are you saying?
Jason's absolutely nailed it. He's got a second to go and he's crossed the line and he will get a lap in.
He will get a lap in, but is he going to be quick? That's the question. Well, in fact, you know what? We'll stick with Jason through the first sector. We want to see what it's going to be then for his first sector. We'll come back to him, in fact, because I think Surprise and Limitless are at the end of the lap. Limitless kind of, Surprise kind of. You know what? We are going to go with Jason. Tentative stuff there as he makes his way through that first sector. I don't think he's going to have the pace. Let's see then. Bastic goes 6th quickest, demotes Jason down to 7th. What's it going to be through the first sector for Jason? Is it quick? He's a 10th and a bit down. That might come to him. Oh, Surprise! In the wall. Big off, James. You saw it. We'll go to you in a minute as Limitless goes again. It stays 2nd. What did you see?
Yeah, he just spun out of the final corner, just put his foot down a bit too hard through the final corner. May have been intentional, may have just been losing time.
Well, he's off the track anyway. Cira, though, finding more time. It looks like it's going to be good for the Brazilian. Limitless has tried his best, couldn't get near him. Surprise tried his best, couldn't get near him. What about P1R Brown? What about Zet? What about Jason on the inters? We'll need to go to them in a minute. P1R Brown finding time, but not enough at the moment. Zet is backed out. Where is Jason through the middle sector? Let's keep an eye on him now then. This is when he was struggling on the last lap. What's it going to be? 1.1 down, still not there for Jason 97 F1. It might be good enough in the final sector if he can find time to gain positions, but it won't challenge the front. P1R Brown now is out there, Cira across the line, no improvement, and joins Surprise in the same barrier. Well, there you go, that's interesting. P1R Brown round the final corner, where's he going to go? No better. 4th on the grid, stays where he is. Now we look for Jason. Has he found time in that final sector to move him up from 7th place, James?
Yeah, you wonder. He had to take the risk, to be fair. It's worth him taking the risk as he comes around the final corner now. Jason, I don't think he's going to improve at all. Yeah. Just so tentative maybe, but keeping his foot to the floor. Will he get a little bit better? No, 7th place.
Well, that was an interesting end to qualifying, wasn't it? Jason taking the risk, giving us an extra element of excitement. It wasn't to be. But the big story is that Cira, who is chasing Surprise in this championship battle, has put it on pole position. We should remember, though, TRL Limitless picked up a 5-place grid penalty during that qualifying session, and that means Veloci Surprise will join his title rival on the front row, James.
Absolutely, and yep, so we'll be technically Cira on pole with Surprise alongside, Brown in 3rd, with Zit in 4th. I think Limitless will then be bumped down to 7th on the grid. It's a bit weird, we'll find out at the beginning of the race, but look at the back end of the top 10. Jason did risk it, on those inters. Didn't pay off for him. Rosberg in 8th with Reynolds in 9th. Overkills rounds out the top 10. Trelix 11th, Hyde in 12th, and Feisty Ted rounds out the field.
Yeah, well, I wonder what the weather will bring for us at the start of this race. It might bring variable strategies if it's a dry start. Everyone, of course, if it is dry, as it clearly is, will now get the choice to choose their tyre compound. So let's see at the start of this race, as they all line up on the grid, how that order looks and what kind of tyre compounds we're going to have from the drivers. Will everyone be going for the same compound? Will there be a variety of different options? Certainly from a neutral's point of view, as in a commentary box, James, we'll be hoping for a little bit of variety amongst the runners, won't we?
I do think so, yeah. I mean, what I'm looking for really is what they want to be starting on, because this is really a one-stop race between medium and hard. You won't see the softs in play, and if you do, then it would suggest someone's going to do a two-stop and go properly aggressive, so they may not use the hard tyres after that point. They may decide that, but we'll find out as the formation lap gets underway in a few seconds' time.
Yep, formation lap about to get underway for round number 15 of the championship. We should just remind you guys of the championship situation with how many rounds go we've got. We've got 7 rounds remaining after, well, including this one. There's a 62-point gap between Veloci Surprise and Sira in the championship. So, 7 rounds to go, 62 points. There's a lot to make up on someone of Veloci Surprise's calibre. So the big question then has to be whether Sira can catch him. He needs to win today, really. You don't want to see that gap going upwards to around the 70-point mark, do you? As we now can have a look at the grid, we can have a look at the tyre compounds, and wow, the top 3 on the hards, everyone else, apart from Bastic and Feisty Ted, lower in the order, on the mediums, James. What do you make of that?
Could be seen as a risk, potentially going on the hards to begin with. Only reason I say that is, the opportunities of a safety car around here are very, very high. So, those who get on the mediums, they can maybe just spice their race up a little bit. They may opt to do the two-stop if there's a safety car in this race now, and that will put cat amongst the pigeons. I'm looking forward to this. Top 3 on hards, right down to Drelix and 10th are all on medium compound tyres, so that's Brown, that's Zit, that's Jason, Limitless, Rosberg, Reynolds, Overkills and Drelix all on the mediums, Baztek on the hards, Hyde on the mediums, and Feisty Ted at the back starts on the hard, which may be seen as maybe a good position. If there's a safety car, track position as well, I suppose. So there's lots of variables for this race, and not least the tyres they've all decided to choose.
Well, to those tuning in, what do you guys think? What would be your ideal strategy choice after a wet qualifying in Singapore? Would you go for the mediums, the hards, or would you be that brave soul on a set of softs? I highly doubt it you would go for those, but let us know, folks, in the comment section below. If you like your tyres to end up like bubblegum, I'm sure you'll be going on the soft tyres after just a few laps. But anyway, 31 laps ahead of us. It is the longest race on the ILR calendar. It's the longest race on any calendar, any Formula 1 calendar, any league calendar, whatever way you look at it. 31 laps around a track this long is going to take some amount of time. The drivers, as you said, James, need to remain the focus, because safety cars are very possible around here. Even on this game, yes, even on this game, folks. I'm looking at you guys, Codemasters. Come on, give us more safety cars. We don't get enough on this game. Who knows? Will it happen today? Sira starts this race from pole. Surprise alongside. You got to feel, James, Sira needs to beat him today.
Yeah, he's got to be down to turn 1. I think that's the main priority to begin with, and it doesn't really end there, does it, with the boulevard that follows as well, because that's another good opportunity for him to pounce, and that is when we'll see who has put more aero on their cars as they line up on the grid.
Yep, the cars now lining up on the grid. What can Limitless do from 6th place after that penalty drop? What can Bastic do after his penalty drop? As the cars line up on the grid then. It's round number 15 of the ILR season here on Xbox One. Can Sira cut the gap in the championship? We'll find out as the 5 red lights go out, and we are racing in Singapore in the night race. It's a good start from Sira. He flies off the grid and easily leads into the first corner. I think Zit there touched the back of Surprise, and I think he might have slight damage. Going backwards is Limitless. In the midfield, there's a real scrap going on there. Jason, Reynolds and Limitless all battling. Looks like Limitless has lost 2 places in amongst all that as they make their way through the first sector and along Raffles Boulevard for the first time of 31. Along the back straight they go. Surprise, gaining on Sira, but not close enough for a move. Rosberg's in there too, and having a little look up the inside of P1R Brown, but no more than a look. Everyone seems to, for the most part, have got through that first sector without any damage, apart from perhaps Zit, who I think touched the back of the Veloci Surprise and damaged that wing, James.
I think he did. It's just over-ambitious into turn one. That medium tyre is going to have so much more pace in the early stages of this Grand Prix that they've got to get through those hard runners as quickly as they can. And for Williams, they've really split the hedges here because they've got 2 cars in the top 4 and both on the different sets of tyres. Really wise decision that, and we'll see how that plays out. But really, a bit of a scrappy start for the Zit in the Williams. Really should have just got through that cleanly and had a go at surprise down Rappers Boulevard.
Just want to remind the viewers, Zit is WR Verstappen, formerly Mark King, that is who it is. And he has, unfortunately, at the start of this race, picked up some wing damage after clipping the back of Veloci Surprise. You can see it on the outboard, the left side of the end plate has been damaged, and there you go there, you can see it quite clearly there, some serious damage to the car, and he's already dropping off the front too. So, you know, Surprise and Sierra, if they were expecting a threat from behind, it won't be coming from that Williams on the medium, and already coming into the pits is too much damage, especially on a track like this where you need so much downforce, James.
Absolutely, he'll have to do a 2-stop from now, surely, because there's not going to be any opportunity for him to get another set of mediums on, and he'll have to go for that 2-stop. But Surprise hasn't lost Sierra at the front of the field.
He has not. Certainly no one's lost in the midfield. It's very, very close between P1 Brown, who's on the hard compound tyre. This is what we were expecting, just a little bit further up at the front. This is what we thought Zip would maybe do, be all over the back of the cars on hards. He can't know with that front wing damage, and that's what Sierra Rosberg's trying to show. The fast starting racing point. We know how quick he is. He's going down the inside, and he's outbraking the Williams P1 Brown. Tidy stuff. Get the textbook out, James, because that's what that was, a textbook move. Brilliant.
Absolutely. Don't even need to go to the contents page for that one. You know exactly how and where to find it, and it comes in the form of Sierra Rosberg. That's a great little move up the inside. Really, really nicely done. He's got to now get his foot down and get closer to those 2 leaders. He can't allow them to pull away because it will be a race of attrition between those 2 if he isn't able to close enough on those medium tyres.
And once again, the fast starting Sierra Rosberg gaining places on the start, even when it's a street track. 4 places gained. We've got a problem at the back of the field. Overkills is off the track and stationary down at the exit of the Anderson Bridge. Has he retired? I'm not sure. Yes, he has. No, what happened there? Has he got damage on that front wing, left side, right side?
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Don't know who it was with, but he is out of the running, James, and that is a shame for him.
Absolutely. I think the way that the car was positioned and the incident there looked like he was actually facing towards the wall. Maybe he's gone up the inside there and probably unwisely to do that, but he's tried it and it's failed, and he'll learn from that mistake or overkills. He's had some good results in the league, but this won't be one of his finest.
Yeah, disappointing for him. So early on in the Grand Prix, 31 laps. It's the longest of the calendar, as I mentioned, to making a mistake like that. It looks like it might have been a case, as you say, James, of diving up the inside, because it was that right side that was damaged on the end plate. So very likely that was the case. So let's have a look. What is the closest battle on the track? It's only 3 tenths, 2 tenths between the 2 leaders at the minute. Let's go to it. I don't want to miss it in case there is a move. There is a move. Here comes Surprise down the inside. On Cena for the lead. He's done it. The championship leader makes the move on the Brazilian and takes away the lead in the Singapore Grand Prix. Wow, I'm surprised at that one. Cena was quick in qualifying, but Surprise doesn't want to hang around, and the Welshman storms through.
Absolutely, looked so easy as well. It didn't even look like Sierra put up any fight against the Welshman there. He just dived down the inside, easy as you like for the Mercedes-Benz driver, and he moves himself into the lead of the race. And eventually we'll start to see a bit of Constantine effect going on, and Sierra goes so deep into the hairpin there, but well, getting away with it all right in the end. But Rosberg is now closing right in on that Alfa Romeo.
Well, that's getting very, very close now. Rosberg really has got some searing pace. As I was mentioning earlier, doesn't matter what racetrack it is, street track or not, this man gains places on the opening lap and the opening few laps every time he races. The most positions gained in the race so far, up 4 from his starting position, and already charging onto the back of the 2 championship rivals on these medium tyres, and keen to get a move on and make up some ground. Looking pretty strong at the moment, and overtaking, despite our fears of it being difficult so far, has been proved pretty straightforward. First of all from Veloci Surprise, and also with that bold move we've seen from Rosberg a few moments ago on P1 Brown.
Absolutely, he's just got the fastest lap of the race as well, so he's showing that medium tyre to have the momentum as Tyrrell Limitless goes fastest of all and actually smashes Rosberg's time right out the park by about 2.5 tenths of a second. That's a really good lap from Tyrrell Limitless, but he is all the way down in 7th place at the moment. Yeah,
good lap from Tyrrell Limitless. He'll be kicking himself about that penalty. I don't know whether it was his fault or not. We haven't seen it. Those guys watching Limitless' stream might know better than us, as EVR Reynolds now has a little look at the back of Jason for that 5th place, unable to get close enough as they reach the braking point down at the end of Raffles Boulevard into the Stamford, and he's unable to get through. Quite a close little cluster following P1R Brown. Rosberg was at the helm of that, chasing him down. He got that move done. It was a tidy move. And Jason is the next man in line looking to make that move. Pretty much the same idea Rosberg's doing to Sierra and Surprise at the moment. But Surprise, you got to say, looking pretty quick. Almost a second clear of Sierra already. And you've already got to wonder, James, is Sierra kicking himself for just letting Surprise breeze by the way he did?
Yeah, potentially he'll be looking at that and thinking maybe he should defend a little bit harder. Yes, on the flip side, he's going to lose a lot of life out of those tyres doing that, but he's got to give himself any advantage he can if he wants to keep this championship fight alive. And it's those positions there where you've got to be a bit more ruthless, get your elbows out a bit more and just hang on in there for as long as you can, I think, on some occasions. Sometimes it's not worth it. I'm not sure whether it wasn't worth it there. He's got to give him the best opportunity as possible.
He absolutely does. As Sierra Rosberg's getting all the more racy and making things all the more difficult for Sierra. He wants to focus on the car ahead. He cannot because he's got a Pink Panther breathing down his neck. And the Pink Panther there. You've seen that, didn't you? Sierra Rosberg,
yeah.
Opposite lock, nearly throwing it into the barrier. He is pushing like crazy out there, isn't he? As Jason is very close to the back of P1R Brown.
Absolutely, a banzai attempt there. Bastek, I think, has just got past Hyde as well at the inside into turn 1. So he's moved himself into the top 9 cars now. It's a pretty weird way of saying it, but he's moved himself into 9th place. We'll see how Rosberg can fare with DRS. Sierra's not going to have it on Veloce Surprise for the first time in this race. Or here comes Jason as well. He's on the inside of Brown, in towards the left-hander they go. They go side by side through there, and it looks like Jason's got the advantage. Indeed, he does. The Red Bull is through, and now watch the Alfa Romeo of Reynolds, who's fancying his chances. Round the outside he goes, and he's got the move done, and Tyrrell Limitless will follow his way through as well. That was just so annoying for Brown there. Just lost all momentum and couldn't keep all those 3 cars behind him.
Well, it was great opportunistic driving, especially from EVR Reynolds to get that move done. Limitless following through in sympathy and dropping down his P1R Brown. But you have to say, you're absolutely right, James. He just lost all momentum. It's like what you see in real life Formula 1 at the start of a Grand Prix. If you don't get the good getaway, you've just got cars passing you left, right and centre, and you just cannot get into a rhythm where you can, fend them off. You're just powerless, and that looks like what happened there to P1R Brown. 3 places gone. And you've got to hand it to Limitless Reynolds and Jason. They punished him ruthlessly, as you would expect at this level of calibre of driver in ILR1. And it was great to see, clean as you like, even on a street track. Through they went, Limitless Reynolds and Jason finally freed from the slow-moving P1R Brown, whose race pace on the hards is looking significantly slower than the 2 leaders out front who are holding firm.
Absolutely, but I'm thinking now for the lots of Rosberg, all these guys who are on medium tyres, is it time now to think about the race as a longer objective here? I mean, being on the mediums, Rosberg hasn't really shown his offensive side against Sierra yet, and Jason hasn't really against many other drivers, although he has managed to pass P1R Brown, who was on the hards. But it's now, I think, maybe that part of the race where they've got to be thinking more about those tyres, because these mediums won't last forever, as I'm sure they're aware, but it's when he's able to pounce on Sierra. Sierra, I mean, it's quite level pegging at the moment, but you would feel Rosberg in a few laps will begin to drop away from that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, you would think that the tyre life, the tyre, delta would start to... Whoa, big moment there for Reynolds, and Limitless slithers through down the inside. Huge moment for Reynolds, and now he's coming back as Limitless went deep into turn 8, and now down into the sling. Limitless has got just enough legs, and if he holds on to that 5th place that he initially gained from Reynolds, he went a little bit deep into the following corner. But, he's got it done and he is through now. So Limitless up to 5th. And next up on his radar is Jason. But you're absolutely right, James. I do believe the tyre delta will start to close up and it will begin to favour the hard runners.
Yeah, it will indeed. It's just a case of now who's able to get any closer to anyone else. And Reynolds obviously making that mistake and done quite well to just not force up the inside of Limitless through there, because you find, especially when you're, these guys are at the top of their game, but when you watch a lower league, say, and you watch a lower tier, you would see a move being made there. And that little even just mentality of not going for it is the difference, I think, what it takes between a good race, decent racecraft and really good racecraft. Although it's so basic and so simple, it's not something that a lot of league racers are able to just click the fingers and admit when they're not going to get a move done. And that's what I like about that from Reynolds. Just thought, okay, I've got a chance elsewhere on the racetrack. I don't need to go for it on a position where it could really compromise both your races. Yep,
absolutely right. And Reynolds plays the percentage game and remains in 6th position after that minor error. So let's take stock.
Here goes Rosberg.
Yeah, here goes Rosberg. Sorry, I missed that one. And he's right on the back of Sierra, who is really struggling. He must have made an error on that lap. 2 seconds now behind the race leader Surprise, he has got to be kicking himself for letting Surprise go earlier on. He's got to be furious with himself for that one, James, hasn't he? Because Surprise has got some serious race pace up his sleeve here, and we're beginning to see it with our own eyes, aren't we?
Absolutely. It was the Belgian race, which I'll go back to again, which really confirmed in my mind the talent of Veloce Surprise. How he managed to maintain his tyres, backed off so much, like to a point where he was 3 seconds slower and still win the race. It just confirms in my mind that he knows what he's doing with his tyres. And I'm sure in this position here as well, just managing them, not pushing beyond that limit. Once you get beyond that limit, you know you may make a mistake, and he's keeping it all on the road at the moment for Veloce Surprise and doing a fantastic job.
He sure is. By the way, he's picked up a 3-second time penalty out there, so that's a sore one for him. It's incredible that we're only 7 laps into this race. It feels like a lot has happened in the opening 7 laps. It just shows you how long this race is. The Surprise now is about to start lap number 8 of 31. We're not even at 1/4 of the race distance, are we? Or just beyond 1/4 of the race distance. So it just shows you how long these guys have got to stay concentrated for. And you know, Surprise leading and building that gap as Rosberg gets ever nearer to the back of him. And you got to wonder, if Rosberg can get ahead of Sierra, will Sierra be able to retaliate later on when he's in the fresher tyre? That's the big question. But you know, will that happen? Will he get through? That's the question. Because if Rosberg can get through, I think he's got a good chance of maintaining that second place.
Absolutely. So it goes a bit wide again. It's another mistake from the Alfa Romeo, but really it's a case of now when Rosberg will pit. I think the pit window is not too far away. I think 4 or 5 laps max would be the time when a lot of these medium runners just decide to bolt on and come into the pits. Really, that safety car, I think a lot of them may have been hoping for, hasn't arrived yet, and maybe just hindering them a little bit. They may have played their strategy not to that effect, but it's not working out if you wanted a safety car in this race so far, is it? Rosberg staying, again, really tight. It's just staying at half a second. He's got to make sure those temperatures on those mediums just do not skyrocket through the roof. He's got to keep those temperatures at an optimum level, because it will wreck his race.
Yeah, it sure will. He just needs to keep the management up. People are Brown now picking up a 3-second time penalty, and you know, he really is not going well on the hard tyres. He's not had a good first stint, dropped places all the way from the start of the Grand Prix, and then lost those 3 places in 3 corners a little time ago, so he's not going well with that 3-second time penalty. He is now chasing down Reynolds, which suggests to me that maybe the hards are coming into their own, James. We've said this might happen soon. Is that now beginning to happen? Sierra now holding Rosberg at around 7.5 tenths. It does look like it's now starting to level itself out, and now Brown is actually coming back at Reynolds and might be threatening a move on this lap.
Absolutely, and that's something they'll all be wary of. And really, to be fair, what Rosberg ought to do is pit and when he knows he's going to be within an undercut window, because the undercut is very good around this circuit, as I'm sure hopefully we'll see at some point, but he may even get to the race leader as well. He's just got to stay within tabs of Sierra, just keep getting that DRS, but not wearing out those fronts on such hard corners.
Yeah, sorry James, Peter Brown coming up the inside, they're having a little look on EVR Reynolds. It was no more than a look, but he almost went up the inside, thought better of it, and Reynolds holds on to that 6th place for now. But Peter Brown certainly having a look at the end of that first sector, unable to find a way through it. Is now pretty stagnant at the front, 2.5 seconds maintaining the gap between Sierra and Surprise, staying around 6 or 7 tenths to Rosberg in 3rd. Jason 2 seconds off that. Limitless within range of Jason. You know what, we've not tuned into Limitless and Jason for a while. Let's keep an eye on that one. Let's see how that one goes. Could that be the potential fight for 4th place? Has Limitless got any more pace in his pocket? Certainly pace in qualifying, James. He'll be really upset with that penalty. As I say, we aren't too sure what happened there. Any of Limitless's stream viewers, if there's any of you watching Limitless's stream as well as this, it would be good to know, because if you are, you could let us know in the comment section what happened with Limitless's qualifying penalty, but we do not know about that at the moment. Hyde picks up a 3-second time penalty, but it does look like Limitless has got the pace advantage on Jason, as Rosberg now pits. Then he'll be the first call for the pits then between the 2 racing points, and Limitless will obviously go longer. Will Jason go much longer? We'll wait and see. Into the pits also came Reynolds on this lap as well, so 9 laps seem like the best distance to do on these mediums before you want to set a 100, James, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I thought it would be a little bit longer than that, but they've all come in quite a lot earlier than what I predicted. That's probably right then for those guys, and hopefully we'll be looking for an undercut with Sierra Rosberg, as Limitless still charging his way down Rapids Boulevard. Won't get any closer to Jason on the brakes, but won't be able to get the move done either into there. He'll just have to sit in behind that Red Bull for now and just wait a few moments. You can see that flashing light if you ride on board with Limitless. You can see on the back of Jason's car, that means he's saving a lot of energy in the car as well. So he's just really just taking it easy at the end of his medium stint.
Good minds think alike, James. I was riding on board just as you were saying that. Perfect stuff. As TRL Limitless continues to follow Jason, he's really pushing along now, Limitless, isn't he? He wants to get this move done. He's determined to get through it. Don't think it's going to happen on this lap though. Jason still getting great traction there as he heads out onto the Esplanade Bridge and stretches that gap out back to around half a second from what was literally a few centimetres when they went through the corner before. So Jason doing well, holding Limitless back at the moment. But yes, a real opportunity here for the undercut for CRL Rosberg on Cedar. But I mean, the other question is, Rosberg, you know, Cedar and Surprise aren't going to be in for quite a while. So Rosberg potentially, not only on Cedar, could get an undercut on Surprise. What do you think of that? Is that being ambitious? Is that a possibility? We'll wait and see. But Jason and Limitless are coming in.
I did sort of say, like beforehand, that he might even get an Limitless gets a penalty. That's so frustrating. You've got to remember this pit lane is a lot slower than much, 37 miles an hour, as you can probably, well, you'd predict that as well, because it's so narrow, the pit lane here, that you really don't want to be going any faster than that, and Limitless won't get out in front. Point is, I think he actually might be able to close right up to the race leader here, and if he can do that, then you know Rosberg's in a good place here. He's just got to make sure he's able to wear down the guys who are on mediums. Yep,
that's got to be his aim then, as Rosberg then, as you can see on the racetrack, 2.1 ahead quite easily. Reynolds though against Limitless, Reynolds ahead of TRL Limitless there. So Reynolds gets back out ahead and the frustration continues to mount for Limitless, the penalty in the pits, and now he's back behind Reynolds. It's a frustrating day after what was such a strong qualifying effort, James.
It is. It's one of those races that we just want to forget about, as well as his luck in league racing so far on this game. Just hasn't been able to nail it on most occasions. The one time he did nail it, of course, was Spain, where he definitely nailed it, and he got a win on that day. And that was a brilliant Grand Prix, Spanish Grand Prix in ILR this season. Might forget that one in a hurry. Yeah, it's just not becoming one of his days for TRL Limitless. Just one of those drives that he'll want to forget about, but crack on with as well, because there is still a fight to be won here, and he isn't exactly out of a fight with Reynolds and Jason in front of him. Yeah, absolutely not. He's certainly in a fight for that fourth position at the moment on the road, but he's got to be so frustrated with his season in general. You know, he's so competitive as TRL Limitless. He loves league racing, but it's just inconsistency this season. He's been unable to string a run together. You know, 8th in Australia, 5th in Bahrain, 12th in China, didn't start in Baku, won the high of the season in Spain, that was his big high. Then he didn't start Monaco, but then went on a nice little run in Canada and France, back-to-back podiums. But since then, it's been up and down, you know, 6th, 16th, 4th, 12th, 6th, 3rd. It's just been all over the place. Yeah. I feel like Limitless, he knows he's better than that, he knows he's capable of more. He's not had the luck at times he's just made silly mistakes, and he'll just be wanting to iron that out if he's back next season and try and, you know, be as consistent as he has been in previous years in ILR and try and pick up a couple of wins, a lot more podiums, because we know he's capable of that. Pole positions as well, James. Absolutely, and that was the one thing at the start of the season we looked and said to Limitless, he had to improve his qualifying. Like, that was the main sort of thing for him, and again Tyrrell Martin last, a couple of seasons ago now, was really their qualifying was the big hindrance for them. And you look at Limitless now, and it's just a case of just getting those consistent races together. I mean, the consistency in some of his races when he was in the Red Bull pairing with Martin was quite phenomenal. Like, he was getting some really good results, just never got the win. Getting some good points on the board. It's just frustrating for him, and a man of his calibre and, you know, his experience, I don't think that's going to put him down. I think he knows what he's got in abundance. It's just the execution at the moment.
Yeah, sometimes these things don't go your way. And speaking of his Red Bull pairing with Martin, you may remember back, we had a cracking little dice, the two Red Bulls round here. Was it last season or 2 seasons ago? I remember they had a really nice fight round here. It was good to watch. So who knows? Maybe we'll get Martin back in ILR sometime soon, because we miss Martin. The very nearly champion of the first ever season when he had that puncture. If you're watching, Martin, I'm sorry for bringing it up, but yeah, that was a very nearly title-winning moment for TRL Martin. That was sadly robbed of him. But it's really closing up then, this little scrap, as we get back to the action on the track. Jason, Reynolds and Limitless, quite a close little scrap. We'll keep an eye on that. While we keep an eye on that, let's just change a few things on the graphics here. Let's change the gap from interval to leader let's keep an eye on the gap between CRL Rosberg and the race leader Velocis Prix. 29.9. Let's watch as that comes down, because it should come down. But Rosberg, though, pretty soon is going to have the problem of getting through Feisty Ted. He needs to do that quickly, James, if he wants to finish high up in this race, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he does. He needs to just dispose of traffic as quickly as he can, and being on the harder tyre, the more worn tyre here in Feisty Ted, he's got the same advantage. He actually lets Rosberg go, so that's very kind of him. Some racers probably wouldn't have ever done that, and that's quite bizarre that he's done that, but he's allowed Rosberg through, totally different races, so fair play to him, and Rosberg can get on with his race now and just knuckle down and keep grinding out some good laps.
Yeah, things going perfectly then for Sarah Rosberg, down to 29.6, so can he keep bringing that gap down to put himself in an unlikely leading position then in this race, to then have to defend it, because on a street track, if you can defend, they've got the job done, but that's the question. How far up can he go? Can he get ahead of Cera? You would think so. Can he get ahead of Surprise? That's the big question, because Surprise is just looking so strong. 3.5 seconds now, we've lost Zet, and is that a safety car potentially? Where is that on the track? He's off in the runoff area where the Singapore Sling is. So Zet retires from the Grand Prix and joins Overkills on the sidelines. No sign of a safety car just yet, and yeah, I don't think anyone would want to come in at this stage and fit a set of mediums if you're Surprise or Cera, that's for sure. So, lap number 14 out of 31. Surprise still leads from Cera second, P1 Brown in third, 29.8. The gap not really coming down, James, at the moment the way Rosberg would like, is it?
No, it's just sort of stabilising at that sort of gap, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it supposedly shows that he's keeping a bit of life in those tyres, but we saw how much the medium sort of faded out at the end of their stint. So actually, it's not too bad as Feisty Ted's now falling position. He's just allowed that absolute gaggle of cars through as well.
Yeah, Feisty Ted, fair play to him, not wanting to get involved as EVR Reynolds picks up another 3-second time penalty. Just hearing the beep there as we ride on board with Limitless, that's the beep to let the drivers know that the DRS is active, and here he comes, DRS active, he's down the inside, and he's going to get through, yes he is, he muscles his way through on Reynolds. Reynolds will fight back though on the outside, the Alpha sweeping round the outside, he's already made a move there in the race, he hasn't able to make one this time, he did it to P1 Brown earlier, it won't be on Limitless to come back. And JD is through on up into the top 7, and a wretched day gets slightly better for TRL Limitless up into 7th place. Tidy move there on Reynolds, wasn't it?
Yeah, just pinpoint, knew what he wanted to do, and it's the best place to do it. Reynolds riding up against the barriers there as well, really just scraping the car against the wall there on the sponsorship side on the outside. And now actually this has allowed Jason to just pull away from this scrap. He hasn't really come into any bothers with these two over the last sort of few sectors. It is starting to peel away from Jason a little bit now.
Yeah, well, Jason usually very, very consistent, not one to pick up many time penalties, so you know, if you're the likes of Limitless and Reynolds, don't rely on time penalties from that man up ahead. You're going to need to try and pass him on the road. And he is, you know, I say this quite a lot, he's in the same mould as EVR, as CRG Evo. He rarely makes mistakes, he keeps it on the island, he doesn't get fazed by anything. The only thing he doesn't have, the same as Evo, is that searing hot pace, but he's the same kind of driver, smooth, calm, calculated when he comes to making moves, not hot-headed, and is always bringing the car home in a good position. As Feisty Ted now retires from the Grand Prix as well.
Yep, so if every car finishes now, they will get themselves a point, at least a point anyway, and that's what a lot of the guys will be looking out for. Hyde is in the points in the Toro Rosso, quietly going about his business, albeit in last place, but that is the way sometimes racing goes for you. And still yellow flags in Sector 1, still no sign of a safety car. Slightly frustrating really. Maybe we would have seen one. I mean, everyone watched the Brazilian Grand Prix would know that there was a safety car incident which just wasn't a safety car incident. Let's be completely honest, when Bottas went off. And yeah, well, this is what we're sort of faced with here on this game. We don't really see a lot of safety cars, which is a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, it would be nice, it would spice up the action a little bit more. You know, we do get great racing in ILR, regardless whether we have safety cars or not, but you know, I do feel that Cloudmasters need to up the percentage of safety cars. I think it would add an extra spice to races at times. You saw that in Brazil, and by the way, I'm not by any means saying as surprise, it's the fastest lap of the Grand Prix,
that is
a 1 minute
ridiculous.
40 flat on a set of hard compound tyres after 16 laps of running on them. I mean, for goodness sake, that is ridiculous. He is flying today, isn't he?
Yeah, that just shows his talent, doesn't it? I said it earlier on in the race, his time management is just a class above anyone else in this field. Like, it really is. Like, where Jason, as we know, is that more calculated, the Evo sort of drive that you're just talking about. Surprise has got that, and pace. And that is it's a scary combination, but when it comes together, it is actually frightening how quickly this guy can go. It is crazy fast. Recent couple of laps, I'd just like to point out, the gap was about 2.9 seconds about 3 laps ago. It's now 5.5 seconds. Crazy.
He's just put the boot down, isn't he? He's just put the boot down. It's like when he toyed with us in Belgium. Remember that? He was toying with us in that Belgian Grand Prix, and then just started blitzing laps 2.5 seconds quicker than what he was doing before. And, you know, I think this is his answer to anything that CRL Rosberg had up his sleeve. Okay, I'm just going to put the boot down now. 15 lap old tyres, you're on 6 lap old tyres, I'm still going to go faster. I'm just going to go and fly off into the distance now and cover you off so that you can't get ahead of me after I come into the pits. And he really is the complete driver on this grid, and that's why he is where he is in the championship. That's why he's a 62-point lead and about to come a 70-point lead if he can hold on to that fastest lap and race victory over Sira, perhaps even more if Sira doesn't get ahead of CRL Rosberg come the finish of this race when he pits. So, you know, Surprise looking ever so strong, and this man, Esports teams, if any of you are watching, this is the man you want. Veloci, sign him up and put him in the Alpha. Put him in the Alpha.
It's one of these guys which you look at him and you think, this guy is so good, his ability is so good, he could be winning so much more. You know, there's no disrespect to any league that he's in, but this man could be doing a hell of a lot more in just the esports scene than what he's doing. He's driving master. He is an absolute master on his platform. There is no doubt about that. No one can. To be honest, there's only a few drives that have ever come close to beating him on a good level. I mean, Joe, possibly one of them when we had Evo and Simon. That was really the big test for Surprise, but he still got past it and still won the championship when those guys were racing. It's crazy how quick he is.
It really is. I mean, you know, Sira hasn't had the pace today, but he has had other tracks, and we do need to remember Sira races on a pad, which historically, you know, there's a big argument here about this, and people debate this, but historically, it is believed that the pad is slower. It's got more tyre wear and other things like that. And for him to put up the fighty way he has to Surprise just shows you how strong he is. Surprise once said that he believes Sira's quicker than Surprise himself ever was on a pad, and that is some compliment to give the Brazilian driver. So if we ever see Sira on a wheel, I mean, I'd like to see him take it to Surprise, because I think it would be something else, James.
It would be something else. I think it would be. It's just incredible, really, how those guys are so good at their given time. I mean, on the pad, Sira is exceptionally good. Like, there is maybe no better pad user out there than Sira on this game.
Oh, there isn't.
I genuinely believe that. It's unbelievable how good he is on a pad. But hey, these guys at the top of their profession, not even profession, just doing it for a laugh. But the point is, they're just so good at it. It's crazy.
It's absolutely magnificent, and it's an absolute pleasure for us to sit and commentate and watch this greatness unfold in front of us on lap number 18 out of 31. Surprise still leads from Sira in second. He maybe has let off the pace a little bit. The gap now to Rosberg steadying at around 30.8, roughly 30.7. So Rosberg, I don't know where that's going to be in relation to Surprise. I'd imagine it's somewhere within that 6.8 seconds he's got to Sira. Somewhere in there, I would think. But let's go back to some real action then. TRL Limitless against Jason. He's past EVR Reynolds, and now he's lining up Jason then for a move. He's starting this charge back through the field after that 5-second penalty at the pit stop phase. And he's really looking racy and looks set to make a move pretty soon, James.
Absolutely right on the back of the Red Bull. The Red Bull's just sort of keeping his tyres intact, as we know. Jason, that is the kind of driver he is. But Limitless now getting his foot to the floor, really wants to get involved in getting a bit more scraps. He's had a pretty eventful afternoon, to be fair to Limitless. There's no doubt about that. He's just gone about his business just in a very, very racy and aggressive way. But maybe not aggressive, actually. That's probably a bit harsh. He's just been involved in everything, everywhere. It's one of those weird races for a driver. It doesn't often happen, but when it does, you love it. Even though it's for fourth place technically. But here we go. Limitless against Jason into the final sector. This is where he'll begin to lose time. The fronts will just glide across the racetrack because of the heat that they'll get into. Yep,
looking like quite a scrap. As I mentioned earlier, Jason doesn't like giving up his position, very rarely makes mistakes. And you know, right up there, Limitless. He's going to have to try and force something special to get ahead of him.
Yeah.
And Is he going to be able to do it? I was watching in another league race on Sunday night, Jason defend brilliantly. I think it was from Pinecone, and he eventually done him, Pinecone, with a massive switchback. An incredible move as Sierra has pitted and he's came out behind CRL Rosberg. So there you go, work to do for Sierra.
Absolutely, he's very lucky that he didn't come out in that scoreboard behind, because that would have ruined his race. That scoreboard would have ruined his race right there. He was so close to being involved in that. If he'd have pit a lap later, he'd have been behind them.
Yeah, he'd have been swallowed up by that group, and they would have, you know, as you say, obliterated his race. It would have destroyed it. I mean, I don't doubt that he'd managed to charge his way back through, but I think his chances of getting up to Rosberg would have been significantly lower. I have to say that much. It does look like Surprise is going to have at least a 2 or 3 second cushion though over CRL Rosberg when he pits though, doesn't it? And he should be safe. And when he does pit, heading off to victory.
The thing is now for Veloce Surprise in this season, if he wins here today, it's not a case of if, it's when. And that's what really, you know, disturbs a lot of people in a league race, is when you know the championship is almost on a thread. It's literally there. It's a ball on a string. It's just so close. You almost touch the championship. That's how close he is now. And Sierra is even closer to Sierra Rosberg.
Yep, he's right there. 2.5 tenths behind him. We'll need to get a tune in on that. It's so close in this group, but we need to go to Sierra, because that looks like 9-lap-old hard tyres against fresh mediums, and that is a lot more of an unfair contest, and that usually means we're more likely to see a move. And Rosberg swirling around all over the place, trying to hold on. Reynolds picks up a 3-second time penalty, but Rosberg knows this is going to be difficult to cling on to. The podium might be going his way, but it won't be second place. It's going to be third, because Sierra is almost certainly going to make a move on this lap then, as they make their way through turns number 1, 2 and 3, and now head down towards the end of the first sector. Head down Raffles Boulevard any moment now. Can Sierra get the exit he needs? Yes, he will. Perfectly lined up, opening up the DRS for Sierra, and he's now going to surely breeze past him. Down the straight he will go, and through will go Sierra up the inside. What can Rosberg do? Very little. He tries to turn in, the car's there, he can't, and he loses the position. Sierra up to third. Bastek's yet to pit as a surprise, but he won't come out ahead of Surprise. He will ahead of Bastek when he pits. It's going to be Surprise first, Sierra second, Rosberg third, and then this almighty scrap for fourth, which is building ever bigger, because P1R Brown and Reynolds are right there now, aren't they?
What's even more scary is Veloce Surprise could do something which is just incredible here, in a sense that, oh, there you go, there's a difference to the fastest lap time, and that comes from Hyden. He will get a point for that, because he is still in the race and he's still racing along, so he will get 2 points for that. Well, 2 points in his race, which he'll be, I'd imagine, quite happy with. As Veloce Surprise pits, he could have very nearly actually made such a gap to Bastek. If Bastek would have stayed out, he could have come out in front of him even then. That's how quick he is at the moment. That is crazy quick. Yeah,
it is impressive. Very quick from Surprise. It's crazy quick, impressive. I just want to mention something about Hyde there. Very clever to come into the pits and put a fresh set of tyres on and ensure himself, essentially, 2 points instead of 1. But Drelex might fancy that and go, okay, fine then, I'll come into the pits, I've got a 41-second cushion to you, and I'll put a fresh tyres on and just take it back off you. That might happen, as P1R Brown is very close to the back of Limitless, unable to get through. But you'd expect, surely, that might happen. P1R Brown as well, though, when he gets into clean air, he might be able to do it. But I do think Surprise on his fresh mediums is going to laugh at them all and go even quicker than all of them, isn't he? Bastek now leads this race, though, from Surprise second, Sierra third, and Rosberg in fourth. But we want to keep an eye on this, because look how close this is going to be. This looks incredibly close. Almost 3 wide into the braking zone. Limitless trying to sweep round the outside of Jason. Oh, he's made it work. Beautiful stuff from Limitless. Round the outside of Jason. It's been a tough old race for him. Oh, Jason ain't giving it up. Round the outside he goes now. Limitless covers to the inside. P1R Brown now gets involved as Jason was hung out to dry by Limitless. Brown down the inside, takes the place away, and Jason drops to 7th. And P1R Brown does to Jason what he had done to him earlier in the race. Lose position, lose another one. Boom, P1R Brown
gains
the
place. That is a sensational move.
And Jason's through. Go on, James, describe it. Brilliant.
Yeah, just a sensational move around the outside. He had the confidence to go for that. And Jason, to be fair as well, just to have the Braveheart nature of going for that on the outside there. That's not a corner you should be going wheel to wheel at, but he nearly made it work. And my God, that would have been a move he could have pulled it off. Couldn't, unfortunately, but we'll watch P1R Brown on his fresh medium tyres.
Yeah, if you're looking very quick though, he's right on the tail of TRL Limitless, isn't he? Brown looking strong. And looking racy, it wasn't going well for him earlier. As Sarah Rosberg picks up a 3-second penalty, Bastek is in the pits, and now Surprise is free, doesn't have to overtake him. So Surprise now leads from Sarah second. It will be Rosberg third and Limitless fourth for the charging P1R Brown in fifth, whose race has just came alive all of a sudden. Bastek onto the soft compound tyre, so he's chasing a fastest lap. So there you go. We'll see what Bastek can do on those tyres, but before we do that, let's keep an eye on P1R Brown, James, because he looks like he's going to try one on Limitless, doesn't he?
Absolutely, just see the difference in grip there. Limitless almost just losing on the inside. Now he's got a real chance as P1R Brown down Rappers Boulevard. We go around the outside, round Rappers Boulevard. So close to the wall on the outside, but he's got it on the inside. Made the car as wide as possible, but moves himself into fourth place.
He does. Lovely stuff from P1R Brown, and Limitless made a place on the previous lap down there. He's now lost one, and Brown up to fourth place. No contest really on those fresh mediums, and he can now go hunting after Sarah Rosberg. The next big question, James, is will he get there? What do you think?
There's a good chance of it. I mean, to be honest, I'll check the penalty before I open my mouth, but I think he'll get a podium. No, he won't get a podium. He'll have to make up that 3 seconds on Rosberg. So that will be a bit of a Titanic scrap come the finish. It may be a finish to watch here because the podium is still within reach for Brown.
Yeah, it still is. Can he get there? We'll wait and see. Surprise then, 3.6 seconds ahead of Sarah. This looks under control for the Mercedes man who made that move decisively earlier on in the Grand Prix after Sarah led away from pole. Sarah Rosberg got himself into third place by making some early moves, as he always seems to do, but now he's going to have to defend from P1R Brown. As Surprise just sets a ridiculous 1:36.7. I mean, it's crazy. It really is. It's quick. It really is. You know what? I want to compare this. I want to see what Bastek can do in his fresh softs. Go on, Bastek.
Soft size, yeah.
Topple him. Show him who's boss, Bastek. Go on, son. Put in a quick one. And what's he going to do then? Is he starting?
Beating it.
Is this his first flying lap? This will be his first full lap, I think. Yeah?
It will be. Okay, yeah.
So let's see it. You know what? Let's get the lap data up. Let's see what he can do. I want to see this. Well, keep an eye on Reynolds first because he's close to chasing. Is he going to make a move on this lap? Nope, not into the braking zone. So let's see how Bastek's getting on there. Everyone's struggling with tyre grip out there. Let's have a look at a man out there doing qualifying laps then on that set of soft compound tyres. So Hyde's fastest lap didn't last very long. It was blown to bits by Surprise, and now Bastek's, who's on the softest set of all, is going to try and topple them all, but he's going to have a little bit of dirty air because he's got Drelix directly in front of him, so that is not going to aid his cause to try and go for the fastest lap of the race so far. So this could be a little battle for position here. I've not spoke about Drelix at all in this race, really. I've barely seen him out there. He's running in 8th at the moment. It could be 9th soon as Hyde now gathers another time penalty. And look at Bastek here. 2 stages softer tyres, plus the fact that they're 10, 12 laps younger. And he's just going to breeze past, isn't he? Yes, he is. Through he goes, up into 8th place. Easy as you like, James. Not even a contest.
Yep, not even a contest easy for Bastek. Just moved himself up another position, and I'll see what this lap is like in the end. I don't know whether he will beat it because, dare I say, if he hasn't played his fuel cards right, then he won't be pushing as hard as he wants to. Terrell Limitless gets himself a 3-second time penalty, and he'll be ruining that because he'll be losing positions hand over fist if the other guys behind him haven't got a penalty. And I will do a penalty check in just a moment.
37.
And he hasn't beaten the time, Bastek.
37.6. He did have to pass a car in that lap, so we'll see how he gets on this latest run in his chase for the fastest lap. I don't think he's going to be too far away. I think he might have a chance of beating it. I really do. EVR Reynolds now, 3-second time penalty. They're mounting up, James, aren't they?
Yeah, it goes Rosberg and Brown. They're side by side, and Rosberg on the inside actually forced Brown off the circuit, and we didn't catch that, but down Rappers Boulevard it looked like that Brown was on the outside. Rosberg was on the inside, just broke so late at that racing point and forced the Williams wide, but the Williams has got so much grip on those mediums, just going to have a real opportunity to pass Rosberg once again.
Yeah, he's very, very close. We're going to see him move pretty soon. Reynolds as well behind Jason. We'll stick with this one first though, because P1R Brown on these mediums is looking pretty racy. Goes deep, takes a wide entry into the corner to try and give a better exit. Is he going to get enough of an exit to power past Rosberg? No, he is not. At the long end of the Esports bridge, he's unable to get through, and he stays in 4th place then. So it does look though like he's going to have a good chance next time by down Raffles Boulevard. So 5.3 seconds now, the gap between the top two, and then 11.5 seconds back to this dueling duo of Rosberg and Pimona Brown. We'll keep an eye on that one. There's going to be a move there soon, I think. Reynolds still stuck behind Jason. They're on similar tyres though, so that won't be as easy as you would think it would be for Pimona Brown. Let's see how Bastic gets on at the end of this lap then. Is it going to be the 1:36.7 he was looking to top?
Brown. Oh. Nearly got Rosberg on the outside into turn 1 and backed out of it in the end of the Williams, but it's getting mighty close. Looks like Brown's just pushing him along now. Yeah,
Brown really close. It's almost certainly he's going to go for a move there. I didn't see that lap from Bastic. Obviously it never flashed up, so it probably wasn't quicker than that time by surprise. Here comes Pimona Brown though. This could be candy for my baby. Rosberg's going to need to defend the inside, and defend he will. Brown forced down the outside. It's not a done deal though, but he's going to try and do it again. Rosberg gives him the squeeze. Probably exactly the same as the previous lap, but Brown's now got the inside and he muscles his way through. Oh, aggressive stuff from the pair, but Brown gets his elbows out and confirms that podium place on the road for now.
Absolutely, and that was a really getting your elbows out sort of move, wasn't it? You saw Rosberg turn in once, twice, 3 times, and Brown was there just, no, I'm having this, and he's got his side pods out or got his elbows out, and managed to get the move done in the end. And I think it would be his first podium in ILR since, I think, Austria last season. I may be wrong, but it's been a long time.
Long time, but Pimona Brown, it didn't look likely after a few laps in this Grand Prix. He was going backwards very quickly on those hard tyres, but patience has paid dividends, and he's now where he needs to be to get that podium places, providing again the penalties haven't been too severe for him. ILR then. The next closest to making a move. Bastic, by the way, is storming onto the back of these guys, as you would expect on those soft compounds. So Reynolds, understandably, you would think, wants to get a move on pretty quickly. So if he can, he'll put a buffer between himself and Bastic and get ahead of Jason. But, you know, we've mentioned it already today, Jason is a tough nut to crack, not easy to get past. And Bastic is beginning to fill the mirrors of that Alfa Romeo with a big black Haas car. And the black and gold Haas is now right there and ready to pounce, James, isn't it?
Absolutely. No, forget that Bastic's actually had a podium this season himself. Finished second in Austria, so he has had a great result at one occasion this season, did Bastic. But those softs, I think, will actually just wear out by the point that he catches these guys, which will be a little bit frustrating. I may be wrong, because the amount of grip that he just threw the car into the left-hand corner there, it's just stuck onto the racetrack. He's got 5 laps or so on these softs, but I don't think they'll last that long. I think by the end of it, they will be shot. Yeah,
they will be shot to pieces. And he'll look at this on the inside. Oh, Bastic. Oh, that was beautiful stuff. Now look at this. Reynolds trying to squeeze through a gap that wasn't there. Bastic's seen it though. Limitless picked up another time penalty there, but Bastic, wow. Down the inside he went into the sling. Well, he'll be glad the triple chicane isn't there now, because if it was, he would have went flying, wouldn't he? He's through and up into 7th place with a lovely opportunistic move, James.
I think that might be the best move of the race. That was so audacious. You don't see a move getting made down there, and he pulled it off. Really, just great racing from Bastic. Moves himself up another position. I don't care about the tyre difference. That's a great move. You can't pull that off on sometimes even faster tyres. It's such a difficult move to pull off, but he's pulled it off to perfection. Bastic into 7th place and closing down the Red Bull of Jason at a fast rate of knots.
Yeah, great stuff there. Reynolds desperately is trying his best to clear Jason, so that would not be his fate. Too late, couldn't do it, and now Bastic is through and up into 7th place with, as you say, James, one of the moves of the race. Brilliant, you just don't expect it there, and Bastic there into turn 1, overcooking it a little bit deep into turn 1, but because there's so much grip in those tyres, he managed to get through the corner anyway. So now onto the back of Jason, who's, as I've said already, it's difficult to overtake at times, but this should be a lot easier than before, and already Bastic is just going to breeze alongside, say thank you very much Jason, I'll take 6th place and disappear down the road. Next up, TRL Limitless, and you know what, I wouldn't put it past him, James, he's flying.
Do you know, if he, God, I want to check the penalties here. I'm slightly apprehensive. He hasn't got a penalty, so if he can close up enough, then, well, dare I say, he may have a chance at a podium.
Wow.
If he can keep his tyres intact.
Well, he is flying out there, isn't he? Go on then. How many Brown got second? How many seconds has he got?
Well, Brown's got 3 seconds worth of penalties.
On a minute. Reynolds has managed to do Jason at long last, James. He's done him on the Anderson Bridge, but Jason's coming straight back at him. Oh, this is great stuff. Reynolds with a lovely move on the Anderson Bridge. We never quite saw it, which is a shame. Jason tried to come back at him, he couldn't do it, but Jason's still not giving it up. But Reynolds, I think, finally has got the job done. But James, carry on.
Yeah, so I was talking about the penalties, as you probably guessed. 3 seconds for Brown, 3 seconds for Rosberg, 5 seconds for TRL Limitless, and 2 penalties. So that's, oh god, a big number. And Baztek hasn't got anything. So that is really great stuff from Baztek. Really good stuff. And actually, the Racing Points will come into contact here as well, because they're so close on the racetrack. They don't want to be losing any more time than what they currently are.
Yeah, because that Haas car is absolutely storming up onto the back of them. He's cutting the gap down like a hot knife through butter. And trust me, that is a lot. And here comes Limitless then, close to the back of Rosberg. Unable to get a way through at the moment. And, trust me, folks, get a hot knife and put it through butter. You know, it really does cut quite easily. You know, when I try to butter my toast or butter my bread, I like to put the butter underneath the oven just to get it nice and spreadable. Anyway, I'm just talking a lot of rubbish.
If we're going to keep on that analogy here, then you'll just hope that Baztek doesn't melt as quickly as it hits the toast, or else it will lose all sorts of grip on those tyres,
yes,
and just fall off the face of the cliff. So,
yes, yeah, well,
yeah, the crust will come off the toast or the racing car here.
Thanks for digging me out of a hole there, James, because I don't actually know what I was doing with that, but thank you anyway. Anyway, so basically, yeah, Bastek's tyres are toast. They're toast, but they're not actually toast as in finished. They're just right. Bastek's catching them at the minute. That's all you folks need to know. Anyway, lap 29, 31. Surprise leads from Sarah second, and Peter Brown in third, with Rosberg fourth, Limitless fifth, and the toasted Haas in sixth. Reynolds seventh, Jason eighth, Felix ninth, and Hyde in the top 10. Go on, folks. Let us know who is your driver of the day. We want to hear from you guys watching. You've stayed tuned into this Grand Prix, the longest race of the season. What is your shout out for the driver of the day? I'm going to load up the position change for you guys just to give you an idea. It is hard to argue with Veloci's prize for driver of the day, but Bastek, he's gained 5 places so far. Ooh. If he can get ahead of Limitless and Rosberg, there could be a shout for him for driver of the day, James, couldn't there?
Definitely so, but you look at, I was just watching Rosberg there, he was opposite lock coming into the right-hander there, really has got no grip left in that Racing Point. I won't come out with any toast analogies or anything like that, but it's just getting mighty close once again between the 2 Racing Point boys on the racetrack, and they have had a number of duels this season. They are probably one of the teams to watch. Yep,
it's getting rather toasty down at Racing Point, shall we say, as Limitless gets closer to the back of CRL Rosberg. Are we going to see a move down there? Let's have a look as they come around the Anderson Bridge part of the lap. Unable to get close enough. Limitless to try and get past CRL Rosberg. Can he make a bread and butter move anywhere on the racetrack? Okay, I'm going to stop. I've had enough. Bastek gaining 1.6 now behind. 5 position gains so far. And they both have penalties up in front of 3 seconds, don't they? So he will get them regardless, isn't he? So
he will get them. He's just got to stay intact with them. And at the moment, those 2 Racing Points are getting burnt out of the way. They've left it too long, and they're just crumbling underneath himself. And Baztek just ever so slightly closing in on them. He doesn't need to push at this stage of the race. Yes, there was a toast analogy in there. But he is starting to just stay right with these guys once again. It's a weird race. You would have never guessed it's an endurance sort of race, because, you know, me and Andy don't often ramble quite like this, but on this occasion, I think we can forgive us.
Yeah, a bit of toast, why not? Lap 30 out of 31, I'm going to go on then, James. We've got time at the minute, we don't often have time in an ILR race. Driver of the day, what are you going for?
Just for his comeback through the field, I'd give it to P1R Brown. I think he has had just a really good performance. Yeah, definitely. Okay. I think there's been something about him today, which, okay, he fell off, but he's managed to pull himself back together again. I mean, surprised. I don't know, actually me saying that now, I'm looking at it thinking, well, probably surprised, because 12.5 seconds out in front, that is unheard of in Ireland. Like, you don't win races in leagues by that much. That is crazy how quick. And he's also, every lap, he's seeing that increase. Yeah. Which is scary, probably scarier for him than it is us.
Yeah, so. I don't like being boring giving it to the race winner, but we've got no option here. We really don't. Surprise. Probably the most impressive surprise performance this season. James, agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So there you go. Surprise is going to be our driver of the day. We have to give a special mention to Bastek. He's going to finish 4th, giving him a total position gain of 7 places on a street track, which is incredible from 11th in the grid.
He just set the fastest lap.
Oh, Hyde. Oh, there you go.
Oh, Hyde.
7. He's done it. He's stolen it away. There you go. He will get double points then. So 2 points then for Hyde. Stealing it right at the death from under the nose of Surprise. Absolutely brilliant. Love to see that. Love to see that. Brilliant from Hyde. Absolutely brilliant. So he sets the fastest lap, steals it away from Surprise, unless Surprise can respond on this final lap. Still Limitless getting closer to
Limitless.
Oh, he's determined, isn't he? Bastic now slowly starting to drop away, but not enough to drop out with 3 seconds, I wouldn't have thought, James.
He's just got to make sure this battle just rages on, and if he can take advantage of it, he may get 4th on the road outright here if these two just keep going. And I was saying about those softs, they have fallen off the face of the cliff. They are so worn at this point. He's sliding around everywhere. Limitless hasn't got the outright speed to beat Rosberg on the occasion down the boulevard once again. Just having to sit behind. Reynolds gets another penalty. It's just not been for some drivers their day, but Veloce Surprise is in the final sector, cruising to another win this season. I don't know what number he's on now, but this is sensational.
It is absolutely brilliant from Veloce Surprise. Me and James said it a moment ago. It is arguably his best performance of the season. It is going to be win number 7 of the season of the 15 races so far. He makes his way round the final couple of corners. Veloci Surprise extends his championship lead further. It becomes what it was 62, it's now going up to 69. And you got to feel, as you said earlier, James, it's now almost a matter of when, not if he wins the championship. Sira comes home in second, P1 Brown will be third, but let's have a look at this battle. Bastic should be fourth, but he's dropping off them now, almost 3 seconds. Surprise now leaves the session at the end of it. I don't know if that was a disconnect, but let's have a look at Rosberg and Limitless pushing each other as the fireworks go off around the racetrack. What a perfect backdrop to this little battle between the racing points. Round the final couple of corners, Rosberg on the road is fourth. Limitless fifth. Is Bastic going to steal it away? Only off Limitless, not off Rosberg. And Bastic finishes in 5th then. Jason 6th, Limitless down in 7th after that. 8th for Reynolds. And that is that. It's all over here in Singapore, the longest race of the season. And it ends with Veloci Surprise winning his 7th race of the season, extending his championship lead from 62 points up to 69 with that victory today. He had a blip in the middle of the season in Canada and France, but he finished off the podium. Every other race apart from that, he's been on the podium, and he takes a fine victory once again today. Sira could do nothing to stop him. Surprise was in a league of his own. One of his best performances of the season. And Surprise wins from Sira and the recovering P1 Brown, who had a race of 2 halves. Well, James is going to be back in a few moments' time, but before he does join us, let's have a look at the final race results from the Singapore Grand Prix. Veloci Surprise, as I mentioned, winning by 15 seconds in the end. 15 seconds in an ILR1 race. That is astonishing. It's unheard of. Sira in second. P1 Brown in third with a 3-second time penalty. Theodore Rosberg also had one to his name, almost 40 seconds off the winner. Bastic made a great recovery, 11th in the grid to 5th. Jason was 6th. Sierra Limitless, a race to forget. 11 seconds worth of penalties, only 7th place. How much better could it have been if he maintained 2nd on the grid after a qualifying penalty? Vizard Relix, he brought it home in 8th position. We barely saw the Ferrari driver out on the racetrack. Quiet day for him. Reynolds was 9th, and snatching that fastest lap right at the death was Hyde to ensure that he got 2 points rather than 1. Feisty Ted didn't finish the race, neither did Zit or Vias are overkills, and that is it for the Singapore Grand Prix. Next Grand Prix on the calendar, we do head to the Russian Grand Prix in Sochi, round number 16. That will be next week, the usual time of 7:30. I will not be joining you. James will not be joining you either, so I don't know who's going to replace us in the commentary box for that one next week, but be sure to tune into that one. We're waiting on the guys joining us for the podium interviews. James is now returning. So yes, Russia next week, James, as we wait for the drivers to join us in the commentary box. So could you invite them, James, for us, if you could?
Yep. Oh, yep.
Yeah, thank you. But it is the Russian Grand Prix up next as Surprise extends his championship lead to 69 points. 6 races to go. And you know, it really is now at the point, James, isn't it, where it's got to be a case of when, not if, for Veloci Surprise.
Yeah, it is indeed. You'll just be looking at whenever he can get the championship, he'll be happy. But it's just, yeah, as you say, just if and when. I think a slight issue here because I don't actually have any of them added, so this will be fun.
Well, Puma Brown is joining us. I'll do what I can. I'll try and get them in. Bear with me, folks. And we'll try and
see if we got...
get to the remainder. So surprises in, and the final one. Who's the final one? We're waiting on Sarah. Are you able to invite him, James, or will I try?
Yeah, he's here. Wow, look at that.
We got him. Okay, then.
Almost like clockwork.
Take it,
right, let's get it away.
Take it away.
Josh. I don't know what number of win that is for you this season, which isn't great of me, but still. A win is a win, and it's fair to say, in the mildest way possible, you absolutely destroyed it. You dominated that race from start to finish, really. Never looked in doubt, did it?
Yeah, the pace was good. I knew the pace would be decent coming into it. It's not necessarily a pad track. It's more favouring the wheel, so I knew I'd have that advantage there. And yeah, I did a quite decent amount of practice. The last few races, for quite a while, I haven't been practicing as much. But I decided I'll just do an extra bit this week, and I think it showed. The pace was really strong. I went for a dry setup, even though it was fully wet qualifying, because I just wanted to be as quick as possible in the race, obviously. So I'm not sure what type of setup Cyril was running, but yeah, the pace was strong. 1 second.
Yeah. There's nothing really. I mean, he had much more than that, other than what he was saying. We'll come back to surprise. We'll move swiftly on to Sarah in second place. And Sarah, it was a race which, you got pole in the wet, which was obviously the best part, maybe, about the race, dare I say. But from then onwards, it just seemed like the pad, and just, I don't really know what went on wrong for you out there. Maybe it was just the pace on the pads or whatever, but just didn't seem to have the pace today.
Oh, actually, like I just said in the last week, it's my worst track on the whole game. I don't have actually the pace there. I just tried to practice a little more than the other rounds, just practice for a whole week this time to maybe get into the pace, and I was a little confident because of some times and I was doing etc. But I knew that if it would be 100% dry session, I would be screwed because I wasn't very quick at all, and the consistency was a little bad, I suppose. So the wet much saved me in the qualifying. I just did an inter setup, just mixed the dry with wet, because I knew my only chance to get a good result was just get the pole position and try to hold the field to get some good points. So I'm gonna take it like a win, this second place. And the last 8 laps I just started to hurt my left hand so badly, and I just backed off the pace completely because no point in pushing that way. Yeah, just it.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a few races left to go this championship, and it's going to be tough for you in the maybe against Surprise now. It's would you say that's a fair comment, or you're still going to be pushing as hard as you can?
Well, I'm gonna be pushing as hard as I can into the final races, and maybe the championship is almost over, but I have fighting for second place yet. So every good result is good to me, and he actually deserves the whole gap he got into the lead of the championship. I just did a lot of shits in the first round, like from Canada moving forward, just did a lot of mistakes which cost a lot of points to me. So yeah, I'm gonna fight into the final round and to maybe guarantee the runner-up of the championship.
Absolutely, and well, congratulations or congratulations on your second place. We'll move to Puna Brown in third place, his first podium in ILR for some time. It's good to have you back on the podium, my friend. It's been a while, and we'll be pretty happy with that result.
Yeah, pretty happy with that result. I like Singapore. I just like street tracks, I think. So I think it's just a challenge of the tracks. Being a street track, it's so close to the wall, I just enjoy it. It's like being on edge all the time. But yeah, no, P3, I'm happy with that. Qualifying, I didn't expect to get where I was because the wet is atrocious around that track, but yeah, happy with the result.
Absolutely. I mean, what's your sort of focus then for the end of the season? I mean, you had the podium now, and maybe a run of forms get going and get a few more.
Maybe. It's just throughout the season I had screen freezes, so it put me back in the championship quite a bit. So that kind of ruined any sort of run to get any good position in the championship. But yeah, I'm just gonna race as hard as I possibly can until the end of the season.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the podium, and I don't really know what more to add. Andy. Just a good race, but setting stuff early on. And then
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I was daydreaming there. Yeah, well, that rounds it off. Did you want to add anything to surprise returned?
Yep, I'm back.
I'm back. Oh, you're back. Good to see you back. Josh, congratulations on that victory today. It's 69 points now, the lead in the championship. How are you feeling about that now? 69-point lead, 6 races to go. I mean, you don't want to say it's in the bag. It's one of those ones, but you've got to be feeling it to be in quite a comfortable position now. You can afford a few slip-ups, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. It's still close. You can never underestimate, especially Syrah. So I'm not gonna let off. I'm gonna keep pushing right until the end. But yeah, as you said, 69 points is a pretty sizable gap. So yeah, the goal now just obviously to win every race. But if I can't win, make sure I'm staying on the podium and I'm not making mistakes and getting low points finishes like France and Canada.
Yeah, because France and Canada was a real blip in the midway part of the season. Surprised, how would you rate that race today amongst the races you've done this season? 15 seconds you won that race by. Would you say that was arguably your best performance or the most consistent you performed this season? Because it was a pretty incredible performance, I thought, to win by that margin.
I think pace-wise, yeah, it was up there. Obviously, it may have been made to look a bit better because it was one of Syrah's weaker tracks.
Yeah.
And Joe also not being here. But still, I think pace when I was pushing was quite insane. So I'd say, yeah, pace-wise, it was one of my best.
Yep, so you'll be looking pretty happy with that then. So that's a good result for you. Congratulations on that one. 69 points, the lead now with 6 rounds to go in the championship. I just want to ask P1R Brown quickly. A race of 2 halves today, would that be fair? The first half of the race, get caught in the traffic, couldn't quite break away with the top few guys, but you really made up for it in the second half of the race, didn't you, with some tidy overtakes?
Yeah, through the first phase of the race, I was just trying to keep out the wall, not get any damage, because doing the hard to medium strategy, if you get damage early on, it kind of ruins the rest of the race. Because being the slowest tire at the start, you're just going to lose so much time because you probably have to pit twice. So I knew when all the cars flooded past me, I knew I couldn't catch Sire or Surprise.
Yeah.
Even if I wanted to. So I just played it safe because I knew at the end of the race I had a massive advantage over the people who did the medium to hard strategy.
Yeah, so it was just really all about ensuring that you had the tyres to do the one stop and ensure you got that third place at the end then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, congratulations anyway, P1R Brown, on that podium. 3rd podium of the season, your first since China, I believe, so congratulations. Hopefully you can add a few more to your tally before the end of the season. But thanks very much to everyone that tuned in today. It's the longest race of the season in Singapore. The drivers all exhausted after that one. We obviously head off now to Sochi in Russia for the next round, which is of course next weekend. Be sure to join myself, James. Well, not myself and James, because myself and James won't be here, but somebody will be here filling in for the commentary next week as we head off to Sochi for round number 16 of the championship. Be sure to join us then. Congratulations to all the guys in the podium. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.